Empire Power Systems Mojave Unlimited Hydro Fest on Lake Havasu in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Hi, everybody. I'm TJ Reeves. Great to have you with us for a brand new season of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing. Our race analyst, Steve Montgomery, is alongside. And, Steve, brand new season means new start, new changes, a lot of different things.
As always, we do have some changes, including a brand new co-host. Welcome aboard. I think you'll enjoy it. We do have a new team or two, a rule change that might make a difference, and we'll talk about those as we go along.
Well, thanks for having me. And one thing I've already picked up on, race fans, that red boat, Miss Budweiser, it's fast.
See how easy it is to pick up this sport? Fortunately, a couple of teams we think have stepped up. That bright yellow boat, the U-10, York International, definitely improved their program in the off-season. Jim Harvey's black boat, the Freddy's Club, now has national sponsorship. They appear to have found 5 to 10 miles per hour, so the Budweiser could well have more competition than they have had the last couple of seasons.
Realistically, is this a case where it's Budweiser's championship to win, or can somebody give them a run this season?
Realistically, they are the top dog, and they will be as long as you and I and everybody else are around, but they do have people now nipping at their heels, and I think it's going to be fun to watch.
It is going to be fun to watch, and it begins right here with race number 1 in Lake Havasu. Qualifying for the opening race of the Unlimited Hydroplane Racing season opener, and Miss Budweiser still very much the boat to beat.
As always, at the start of a new season, many things are new in Unlimited Hydroplane Racing. You've already met my new broadcast partner. We also have a brand new race team, the new kid in town, owned by Ray and Norma Forsman of Fort Hadlock, a beautiful spot way up in northwestern Washington. Last time they owned a hydroplane was 1967. 33 years later, they are back. Jack Berry will be the driver. Jerry Hale, the school teacher out of California, a veteran, giving them some help here as they start the operation in Havasu. Mark Tate joined Jim Harvey's U2 Freddy's Club racing team mid-season 1999. Now the boat has undergone extensive renovation and looked very promising in qualifying. Fred Leland's Miss Pico is no more. It's now Project X, driven by the 99 Rookie of the Year, Greg Hopp. And for Kim Gregory out of Las Vegas, a new association with last year's owner of the Appian Geronimo, Jerry Rise. The USA Racing Partners will field 2 boats, the York Heating and Air Conditioning, and, of course, the Appian Geronimo with Rookie of the Year candidate George Stratton in the cockpit. And finally, the commissioner, Dr. Ken Muscatel, has some very positive changes in his camp. A very bright new paint job on the boat that he debuted last season because of a new national sponsor, Free Internet, freei.com. And that means that America's most famous baby, Bob, will be with the doctor throughout the 2000 season.
The draw for Heat 1A did not include the Miss Budweiser team, which presented an opportunity for the second fastest qualifier, the Freddy's Club ride, with Mark Tate at the helm. Also, the question was whether or not the 1999 Rookie of the Year, Greg Hopp, could give a challenge to that black boat. First heat of the 2000 season, and already off the bat, Project X on the inside, and Freddy's going toe-to-toe.
We know the youngster is fast. He's a lead foot, Greg Hopp, in the red, white, and blue boat. We know the boat is fast, and he makes a great start here in Heat 1A. That's Mark Tate chasing in a much improved Freddy's Club, and they battle deck to deck throughout most of the 3 laps.
Both boats going at it there on the backstretch of this 2-mile course. As Heat 1 would progress, things would get even closer, Steve.
Mark Tate of the Freddy's Club taking the long way around the outside, but using much improved boat speed over the 99 season to actually take the lead at the midpoint of the race here on a triangle-shaped race course. We'll talk some more about that in a minute.
Keep in mind the blue boat, the Rookie of the Year driver, Greg Hopp, and eventually Greg Hopp would come up with the win in Heat 1A.
Mark Tate finally hit a hole in the Freddy's Club, which slowed him down and knocked him out of that race with the Project X, but it was a portent of great things to come later on. Greg Hopp, winner of the first race of the new millennium. Greg, how does that sound? You win the first heat of 2000.
That sounds great.
You
We
made it.
got a new sponsor, driving a new boat. Project X couldn't be happier for him.
You made a great start, took the lead, but the old man Tater found a little that got around you. Then
Oh,
you
boy,
seemed to
yeah.
find a little extra.
Man, we really had to drive hard on that one. Boy, he had some boat speed also on the outside. That was a crazy one.
Heat 1B would feature the very familiar red rocket of the Miss Budweiser. And the real question would be, could anyone challenge this boat in the first heat? Mark Webber in the York Heating and Air yellow boat would provide just such a challenge. Unfortunately for him, things didn't go as planned. Start of Heat 1B, and you will see the early start for the York Heating and Air boat. And Steve, that's a no-no.
Mark Webber, always aggressive, always a great starter, but this time he gets a little bit ahead of the clock, has to run an extra lap for jumping the gun. And that, of course, gave Dave Bilwalk no competition here in Heat 1B.
Give you an idea just how fast that Miss Budweiser is. The other boat jumps the gun, and on the very first lap, Miss Budweiser is already past the York Heating and Air yellow boat.
Yeah, Mark Webber had about a 100-yard head start. Bilwalk made that up and then some on the first lap and cruised to an easy victory. Here's Jerry Hale helping out Jack Berry and the new kid in town team, running third on the water, but second officially because of the false start by Mark Webber.
Heat 1B in the books, 1 for 1 for Miss Budweiser, and the official results, new kid in town finishing second in the York Heating and Air, having to move to the back of the pack.
Well, we talked a lot about starts last year, and there's another one. Were you sure he was over?
I knew he was over, but, you know, I've known that before, and Mark's a great driver, so, you know, I knew that maybe I could be wrong. We didn't know, so I just made sure to cut a light on what I knew was the start of the race, and luckily that was barely enough.
We understand you were very close, but that's perfect.
Yeah, we were probably closer than we'd like to be.
Perfect start to what could be a perfect season. Bernie says you're going to win them all.
Well, if you don't win the first one, you can't win them all, that's for sure.
A nice finish for Jerry Hale in the new kid in town ride. He ends up finishing second in his first heat of the year.
Very hot Lake Havasu, Arizona, well over 100 degrees for the start of the 2000 Unlimited Hydroplane Racing season. Here's DJ.
Heat 2A, and once again for Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club ride, good news, no Miss Budweiser. The stiffest challenge would come from the York Heating and Air yellow boat, piloted by Mark Webber. How much of a challenge? Let's find out. Get an overhead shot from our O'Doul's eye in the sky. We take a look at the Miss Project X in lane 1, the York in lane 2, Freddy's Club in lane 3, the Appian Geronimo on the outside, and Steve Montgomery. We got problems with the inside lane right off the bat.
You saw the Project X dropping back just a bit. When you're in lane 1, you had better be out ahead or you might get pinched, and that's what happens here. Greg Hopp gets into a rooster tail and shuts down back behind the field as the Freddy's Club rockets into the lead. Now, this is going to be a great race because Mark Webber on the inside in the yellow boat has great boat speed as well. You saw George Stratton come by on the outside in the Appian Geronimo. And we might mention, as we see the Project X trying to restart, George has to run outside today because it's his first race of his career.
Now you see the battle up front, Freddy's and the York Heating and Air. The Freddy's Club boat again very strong in their second heat.
This time, a little better result for Mark Tate, as he's able to hold off a very quick Mark Webber and take the checkered flag in Heat 2A.
Mark Webber coming in to the pits in the U10. You'll notice a loose rear wing perhaps slowed him down in that heat. Finishing third in the Appian Geronimo, rookie driver George Stratton. Let's go down to the pits now, and Steve Montgomery.
Jim, a lot of work with Ron Brown over the winter, a little different race boat.
Oh, this is exciting. This is what racing's all about. This makes it a lot of fun to go to work every day.
That's a good sign driving around that yellow boat.
Well, we had the inside of them going into the start before the 1 minute gun. I don't know what happened, but we went down. Mark got it restarted, and, you know, paybacks are tough.
Paybacks can be tough, and you see the results from Heat 2A. The Freddy's Club a winner in this heat. Greg Hopp had these comments.
Greg Hopp has been meeting with the driver's rep. Did you get wet, young man?
Yeah, we had a rooster tail shot there. There was no room to go. There was nowhere to go. There wasn't a lane there, so I had to go up his rooster tail, and thank God it came down right side up. We still got a boat to go racing the next heat.
Anybody in particular?
Mark Webber was on my outside. You know, I don't know if he got pushed in from somebody else outside of him or not. Looked like he was the only one that was in front of me at the time.
Greg Hopp unhappy with the way things started off for him in that particular heat. And Steve Montgomery, why don't we go ahead and take a look at how this race course sets up and how problems can arise from the start-finish line as you head into turn number 1.
The first problem actually comes at the start. A very short run as you come around turn 3 down to start-finish. Not much time there to correct. The only time in the 2000 season these boats will race on a triangular-shaped race course.
Heat 2B, and the question still remains, could anybody challenge Dave Bilwalk and the Miss Budweiser? Probably the most significant challenge would come from the Miss Elam boat piloted by Mark Evans. How much of a chance would Mark, a former Miss Budweiser driver, have in this heat? Let's find out. The Budweiser in lane 1, the Miss Elam in lane 2. And from the very beginning, you can see Miss Budweiser has the horsepower.
And the inside, which is almost unfair. In order to have an opportunity here, you just about got to get the Budweiser outside somewhere. But Mark Evans has a very quick white race boat in the Miss Elam Plus, and as you can see, he's going to give the Bud a run here into the first turn.
In this Miss Budweiser boat was so fast in its first heat that it was able to catch a boat that had jump-started on the first lap alone, and you can see how Dave Bilwalk in that ride began to widen the lead here in their second heat.
You can also see that Lake Havasu is a little bit rough, and it's been that way all weekend. Actually, our conditions here on Sunday are more ideal than we saw in qualifying or in the Saturday beginning of this event.
Get an idea just how rough it is here in turn number 2, and you also get an idea how good that Miss Budweiser boat is. Here's the Miss Elam boat there down at the bottom, still way behind, and it's an easy win yet again for Dave Bilwalk and the Miss Budweiser team as they win Heat 2B. Final results there. Miss Budweiser, Miss Elam Plus in second. New kid in town, followed by the MissFreeEye.com. Steve Montgomery was down in the pits.
Well, if that red boat's going to beat you, by golly, you're going to make him earn it.
Yeah, we're going to run after him, hell or high water. Excuse my language on that one. Yeah, we was running good. We had a hard day yesterday not getting into that first heat, so this is a good pickup for the team, and I think we're going to creep up on the Bud. I was hoping to get the inside lane, then I saw Dave come across, and I wanted to get on it, but we were early compared to what the position we were in, so he ended up getting inside lane. We ran outside, picking up points, get ready for the final.
Heat 3A coming up when we return on ESPN Speed World coverage from Lake Havasu, Arizona in a moment.
Here in Heat 3A, we have no less than 3 boats who have already scored heat victories here this weekend. Young Greg Hopp in the Project X won his first time out. Mark Tate in the Freddy's Club has a victory. The black boat appears to be very, very fast. And, of course, Dave Bilwalk in the Miss Budweiser. The run down to the start-finish, that very short run from the third turn, is going to be critical here at the start. Let's see what happens.
The boats are out on the water here in Lake Havasu, and for this heat coming up, like they usually do, they're milling around. Steve, tell us a little bit more about what's going on here.
A lot of the racing goes on right here. The drivers watching their stopwatches, also in contact with someone on the crew who can see the entire race course, letting them know where the other boats are. The idea is to hit the start-finish line as the clock ticks down to 0. Don't be late, don't be early, and have a good lane.
Dave Bilwalk, known as a very good starter, and of course he overcame the York Heating and Air ride last time out as they jumped the gun, and he still was able to win the heat. The third member of our broadcast team is Jim Hendrick. He has our Alamo Almanac right now.
Unlimited hydroplanes. Now, the key words here, hydro for water, planes for flying across the top of the water. But these boats sometimes will try to fly like a real airplane without wings. Back in the 1950s, we used conventional hulls where the driver sat in the back over the prop. In the 1955 qualifying for the Gold Cup, Slow-Mo 5, driven by Lou Padrill in defense of his title, was on the third lap of the qualifying run, down the back chute on Lake Washington. When all of a sudden the boat lifted up, went into a 360-degree loop, dropping Padrill 50 feet above the water out of the cockpit. And the boat completing that loop just like an airplane, made a perfect landing, not damaged very much. The driver, Lou Padrill, cuts, bruises, few broken ribs, went into the hospital for about a week or so, released, but never did drive again. And now the boats like the Miss Budweiser are cab-overs. The driver sits in the front. The F-16 canopy was developed by Bernie Little and the Budweiser team for safety, and all the camps now use this security system.
I think the canopy we came up with Anheuser-Busch's and the Budweiser brand with their endorsement on it. Mr. Busch, our chairman, said we're going to have to do something to save these drivers or we got to get out of it. And I said, so do I, because I'm not going to be anything to kill anybody again. So that's when we went to work. Jeff Neff was our crew chief then from out of Seattle. He done a tremendous job. And then after he left, well, Ronnie Brown picked it up and went on with it. But there was no question about who did it. We did it. And so we suffered a couple of years. We couldn't do any winning. They called us the Bubble Bud and made a lot of fun of us. but it was the way to go, and there's not been a driver killed since then. So,
For Alamo Almanac, I'm Jim Henry.
A look from up high in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, the O'Doul's Eye in the sky. And again, these boats are trying to prepare to correctly start on time. As you mentioned earlier, don't want to be early, don't want to be late, want to be right on time.
First look at Dr. Ken Muscatel's brand new paint job, a brand new sponsor for the doctor. Freeinternet.com, we'll call it Miss Free Eye. Looking to have a good season, and more news on that boat later. Here's our piston packer, the only one left in the fleet, the Master Tire, driven by Mark Webber's brother Mike. That's a World War II Allison engine. And we've talked about Miss Project X, driven by Greg Hopp. One of the questions here at Havasu this weekend has been, what is Project X? Besides, of course, the new sponsor of Fred Leland's U100. And Angela, hopefully, you can clear up the mystery for us.
Absolutely. We're a Seattle-based startup that's revolutionizing the way people take care of their health. We're a medical and fitness technology and services company. So we bring you in, we customize a personal fitness and wellness program for you. Then we're developing the technology, kind of smart machines, fitness equipment that allows you, that tracks and monitors your progress. And then we've got computer-based technology that allows you access from anywhere, anytime, from home or from one of our facilities, human performance facilities.
And how do you like hydroplane racing so far?
Greg, this team, they're new, it's awesome. We're so excited to be here and be partnering up with them.
Everyone getting excited for heat number 3. We'll have heat 3A from Lake Havasu on ESPN Speed World in just a couple of moments. Welcome back to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Unlimited Thunder Tour 2000. We're at the Empire Power Systems Mojave Unlimited Hydro Fest on Lake Havasu in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. And we're getting ready for Heat 3A, and we take a look at the lineup of the boats. Steve, as you keep mentioning, all important who has that inside lane.
Very difficult scoring up here for the drivers. You see the Freddy's Club on your left. That's the Project X in the middle, then Miss Budweiser. When the drivers turn left, right about here, it's only about 100 yards to the start line. Very little time to make any corrections necessary. The Budweiser has the inside here, TJ, and as you've already learned, that's going to make it tough for everybody else. But it looks like Greg Hopp in the Project X is going to take a shot at him, as is Mark Tate on the outside in the Freddy's Club.
But once again, the O'Doul's Eye in the sky showing you just how fast out of the first turn Miss Budweiser is. I know we keep saying that, but folks, keep in mind we're only half a lap in, and look at the lead already for Miss Budweiser over the rest of the field.
Because we're on a triangular-shaped race course, the straightaways are shorter. That makes acceleration off the exit pin very important, and Budweiser easily the king of that category. So Dave Vilwalk, 2/3 of a lap through Heat 3A, has a nice lead.
As you can see, he has that rooster tail going, but it's really no factor for the boats behind him. In a way, at this point, he's kind of racing all alone, coming back around to complete lap number 1.
Swinging a little bit wide there as he comes down to cross the start-finish line at the end of lap 1. Mark Tate very wide in the Freddy's Club, and you can see the advantage that Greg Hopp has on the inside in the Project X, a shorter race course. But this new Freddy's Club that Jim Harvey rebuilt over the winter with some help from former Bud crew chief Ronnie Brown has really picked up some speed. This boat is going to be very, very quick all season.
We've seen how quick that boat is as it was able to make up ground, but making up ground is what everybody has to do. The O'Doul's Eye in the sky showing you Dave Vilwalk and the Miss Budweiser all the way down the backstretch already, almost half of the backstretch in front of those other boats, Steve.
Dave Vilwalk may be racing to a collision with a new rule, which we'll talk about in a little while, which will slow down boats as they win, and maybe everybody else won't be racing for second place, which is certainly the case here. Vilwalk and the Red Rocket way out ahead in Heat 3A. A pretty good race back there between Mark Tate in the Freddy's Club and the Project X with Greg Hopp, and they are still side by side with a lap to go.
And this was the point on the last lap where the Freddy's Club was able to make up some ground. Speaking of making up the ground, on the back stretch, you can take a look at the O'Doul's Eye in the sky, the MissFreeEye.com, way, way back of the leaders up front.
Dr. Ken Muscatel struggled a bit qualifying that boat, now has it running, but the leaders are about to lap him here. Miss Budweiser, Dave Vilwalk, has 2/3 of a lap to go to another of the many checkered flags we expect him to see here in the 2000 season, but still a pretty good race back there for second place.
That is the only race. You see how wide that lead is, but the battle for second place is important because these racers are gathering points that help them qualify for the final heat, so you want to do as best you can every time out, including staying in the race, trying to get second place. Again, Dave Bilwalk easily winning in Heat 3A in that Miss Budweiser red rocket, as we call it. And here's the battle for second place, Steve Montgomery.
Looks like the inside boat will prevail. It'll be Greg Hoff and the Project X holding off Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club. So second to the Project X, third goes to the Freddy's Club Casinos in a very, very good race for second place.
You see the final results in Heat 3A. The fourth place boat, the MissFreeEye.com, and Master Tire in the U3 finishes fifth. Steve Montgomery down in the pits.
Mark, that's a great boat race with the youngster. Looked like they had him covered, and then he came on again.
Yeah, give Project X, a hand there. You know, he came from behind and went around me on the inside, and we're having a little problem down the back chute of getting the boat to handle and getting through that turn down there, and he's definitely a lot faster through that part of the race course than we are.
So it was just a faster race boat for a moment there.
Yeah, as the water got rougher, he got by me, I think, in the third lap and then pulled away. And, as the water got rougher, we continuously have the same problem that we're going to have until we can get back and make some more parts for the boat.
They'll be putting boats in the water, getting ready for Heat 3B when our Speed World coverage continues from Arizona. Next.
Gotcha. The draw for Heat 3B put teammates together, the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas, the U-10 York International, the Yellow Boat, and sister ship Appian Geronimo. So it's teammates, close friends, Mark Webber and George Stratton. They should be the class of the field here in 3B.
Everyone revving up in preparation for this heat.
I mentioned earlier that George Stratton and the Appian Geronimo, we see him here coming out of the pit area. He has been asked by the officials to stay outside and out of trouble here in his first day of unlimited racing. But George is an outstanding racer up from smaller classes. Here's his teammate, Mark Webber, also a very close friend as well as teammate. And it really appears that George Stratton is quite ready to go boat racing. They'll hold him back just a little bit here for the rest of the day.
Friends or not, teammates or not, it all goes out the window, does it not, when you get out on the water and begin this race, Steve?
I think it will later in the season, but as I said, George is going to play it a little bit conservative today, and he certainly has one of the best as a teammate in Mark Webber and can learn a great deal. This guy right here, of course, has a vested interest in that operation. This is Kim Gregory of the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas, owners of both of those boats.
The O'Doul's eye in the sky, looking up high. And you mentioned earlier in the program a new rule for this season. And now Steve gets an opportunity to talk with Mike Noonan, the chief referee for unlimited hydroplane racing.
Mike Noonan, one rule change that might make a difference, especially later in the season. Basically, the more you win, the less fuel you get.
That's correct. Every valve is issued at 4.3 gallons per minute to the teams at every race. When a boat wins a race, in the following event, Kevin Meyer, our turbine technician, will adjust the fuel flow down to 4.2 gallons per minute, so they'll lose 1/10 of a gallon each consecutive win, and it keeps going down until the boat loses, at which point it will pick up 1/10 of a gallon at the next event.
And what all that means, TJ, is that if you win a race, they're going to turn down your fuel restrictor next time out to give everybody else a better shot at you. That might have a big effect on you-know-who.
There's Jerry Hale's ride, and you can see everyone preparing for Heat 3B, anxiously watching from the pits. Everybody trying to time that start exactly right, even though you've had a couple of heats to practice. May not be as easy as it might seem. We look up high from the O'Doul's eye in the sky. When we come back on our ESPN Speed World coverage, we'll have Heat 3B. Welcome back to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Unlimited Thunder Tour 2000 at the Empire Power Systems Mojave Unlimited Hydro Fest on Lake Havasu. In Lake Havasu City, Arizona, TJ Reeves and Steve Montgomery. You're looking at George Stratton and the Appian Geronimo getting ready for Heat 3B, the final heat before the final race here for these unlimited hydro, Steve.
You see, Mark Webber was early. He's on that last straight before the start, and he had the York heating and air conditioning up there a little too far, had to slow it down. Now the rest of the field pulls up beside him, and George Stratton has moved into lane 2 now in the Appian Geronimo.
There really almost is an art to being able to time this correctly.
Oh, it's a tremendous skill, and as we mentioned many times, Dave Vilwalk is one of the best ever at it. Mark Webber, an old pro, not only good at timing it, but at getting the inside, which he does consistently. Now, he's made a start. He's around the first turn. The closest boat is his teammate, George Stratton, as we see from the O'Doul's eye in the sky. Here comes the Appian Geronimo and its teammates, now running first and second.
We've seen all throughout our coverage here that Mark Webber has had a very, very fast boat, and you can see him pull away at this juncture, easily pulling away on lap number 1, Steve.
He will be one of the contenders this year. He is always quick, always a great starter. His equipment is very strong. This is the old Winston Eagle team, formerly owned by the late Steve Woomer. Great stuff. As you can see here, the USA Racing Partners pretty well liking the way things are shaping up here. They're 2 boats out front.
Talk a little bit more, if you would, about that partnership.
A little bit complicated, the lash up. Last year, Jerry Rye's Appian Geronimo, very strong engine program. He has a dyno up in Redmond, Washington. Not everybody has one, so he had good engines, didn't like his hull. Kim Gregory had 2 good hulls, this one, which he raced last year, and the new Appian Geronimo, which sat in the shop. So they combined. Now it's Jerry Rise and his folks up in Redmond doing the engines. Kim Gregory's crew, headed by Kenny Strickler, take care of the hulls, and together we have 2 very strong boats on the water. The York Heating and Air Conditioning and the Appian Geronimo.
You can see the York Heating and Air boat way out in front. A wide turn that time from the Appian Geronimo. And again, it almost takes some getting used to, even in these heats, how to navigate the turns on this course. And we should remind everyone what we were talking about earlier. It is rough out there and sometimes a little tough to handle.
And once again, it is a triangular-shaped race course. The 2 leaders now are moving on to the front straightaway after coming through turn 3. Normally, we only have 2 turns. The straightaways here are shorter. The boat is turning much more, making the inside more advantageous. We saw something like this in Barrie, Ontario last year. The drivers kind of liked it, but it was smoother up there. We'll see how they react to this race course when we talk to them later. And this is Ray Forsman's new kid in town. Ray Forsman last owned an unlimited hydroplane 33 years ago, which is a long, long time in motorsports. But now he and his wife have picked up a Fred Leland hull and decided to come back onto the circuit. Jack Berry will be their driver, getting some help here from Jerry Hale.
Mark Webber pulling away from his teammate George Stratton here on the backstretch, about to walk away with Heat 3B here on Lake Havasu. An impressive run here in this heat.
There you saw the yellow entrance pin to the turn. There's the exit. He's going to come down this very short run to start-finish and take the checkered flag. It'll be a 1-2 finish for Kim Gregory and Jerry Rise and the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas. And those folks don't need much of an excuse to party. This ought to be a dandy.
Both of these boats have qualified for the final heat by virtue of what they've done here in the first 3 heats. Impressive showing for each, the York Heating and Air and the Appian Geronimo. And let's take a look at the results for Heat 3B. The new kid in town finishes up in 3rd and probably qualifies for that final heat with that finish here in Heat 3B. And Steve Montgomery is down in the pits with the Kim Gregory Racing Team.
Hey, you guys have worked a lot together. What's it like racing each other?
It's awesome. It's awesome. George is doing a really good job, and knowing that he had
too.
This is your friend and protege. You didn't cut him much slack.
Well, heck no. When we leave dock, it's everyone for themselves. But you know, George has never been on one of these, so every time he can learn something out there, we're trying to get him used to big boats on rough race courses.
You feeling right at home?
Right at home. Just beginning.
It is just beginning for the unlimited rookie, George Stratton, but he has quite a history, Steve Montgomery, in unlimited lights.
Unlimited lights in just about every other class. George has driven a lot of very fast race boats. You're right, though. He's the latest to move from the lights up into the unlimited. His old boat, the Wildfire, owned last season and this year by Charlie Wiggins out of Alabama. And Charlie, who you see right there, will be one of the favorites today, as will Randy Haas in his Miss Comp Air. The Unlimited Lights final coming up next on our ESPN Speed World coverage.
Welcome back to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Unlimited Thunder Tour 2000 at the Empire Power Systems Mojave Unlimited Hydrofest on Lake Havasu in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Time now for the Unlimited Lights final, Steve.
Automotive horsepower, lots of it on Lake Havasu, and Phil Bonancini puts the pocket mechanic in lane 1. Then Charlie Wiggins in the yellow boat, Randy Haas The Miss Compare is out in lane 3. And in lane 4, that's Steve Hook, a brand new name for us in the Selman and Associates white boat on the outside. Now look at this start by Bonancini. Coming off a crash in Hawaii last year. Looks like he wants to give the yellow and blue boats a race, TJ.
In the middle, Charlie Wiggins, as we look from the O'Doul's eye in the sky, now takes the lead coming down on the backstretch. And Charlie really showing that he has a strong boat as he was able to zoom right past Bonancini to open up.
This is the boat that George Stratton drove as an Unlimited Light, the former Wildfire. It was owned by the Gregory family before they moved up into the Unlimiteds. Charlie expected to get out front here, and that's exactly what he's doing. He does not have his old nemesis, Bo Scheid, in the Alamo to race anymore. But look at Bonancini. This is the best we have ever seen the red boat run. He has actually taken the lead here on lap 1 of the 3-lap Unlimited Lights final. This is a surprise.
Perhaps Bonancini holding something back a little bit there on the opening backstretch, but you notice Charlie Wiggins hanging right with him here coming out of this turn.
This is going to be a great race because Charlie will not let that red boat get away, and he has a very, very good motor, a good strong hull. Oh, he takes a bad bounce there, though. Bonancini's boat is handling these rough conditions beautifully. Remember, TJ, these boats weigh about a third as much as the big Unlimiteds. This lake is really rough for these guys.
As you can see, Phil Bonancini maintains his lead over Charlie Wiggins here in this Unlimited Lights final. Bonancini initially had fallen behind Wiggins, but obviously has much more horsepower in that boat and is giving everybody else all they can handle here.
You see the Bud on the rear wing. That's because 2 members of the Budweiser racing team gave a lot of their free time over the winter to help Phil Bonancini and his partner Joe Fronheim rebuild this boat after a crash in Hawaii. The boat looks much different than it did last year, and so, frankly, does the driver. I think maybe Phil figured out that you can crash one of these things and come through it okay. I haven't seen him drive this hard before.
Notice the margin there in front as the camera stays with the battle for second place at this point. Charlie Wiggins there on the inside trying to hang on to it. And as you mentioned, these boats much lighter, having some trouble staying on the water, bouncing a little bit higher than the much heavier Unlimited Hydros.
This is a big surprise. We expected Randy Haas to be chasing Charlie Wiggins in the Earl's Performance boat, but not for second place. Who'd have thought Phil Bonancini would come out of the blocks off the trailer at the start of the 2000 season and run like this? It's a whole new ball game in the Unlimited Lights, and I'm sure nobody is more surprised at what we're seeing here than Charlie Wiggins himself. Phil Bonancini just getting a great boat ride from the pocket mechanic.
Bonancini stretching out that lead as this 3-lap race is about to come to a conclusion, and a tremendous win for him, a surprising win for Phil Bonancini, as he will take the Unlimited Lights final here in the opening race of the season at Lake Havasu. Charlie Wiggins trying to hang on for second place.
Andy will, with Randy Haas giving him a good run from the outside, so we have an upset winner in our first race of the 2000 season for the Unlimited Lights.
Phil Bonancini gets the job done here in the Unlimited Lights final. Now you take a look at Steve Hook. He will be in 4th when this is all said and done, and our Steve Montgomery has the winner.
Phil, I have to admit, before the race we said, well, will it be Randy or Charlie? You must have heard me.
That's surprising. Those guys have had a lot of wins, a lot of final wins. It's my first win in 7-liter Unlimited Light hydroplane racing today.
Last time we saw you, you were upside down in Pearl Harbor, so you came a long ways for your first victory. Makes it especially sweet.
You can't believe the amount of work that went into our boat this winter. Budweiser helped us. My whole crew was fantastic. My crew chief, Joe Fronheim, very competitive man, most competitive man I ever met.
Congratulations, and we look for more.
You can count on it, buddy. Thanks, Steve.
Very happy Phil Bonancini. The surprise win, would you call it an upset win?
Well, you have to. It's his first win, and nobody expected him to run with the hot dogs out front, and he put them away.
Speaking of the hot dogs, the Unlimited Hydro final is about to commence. You see the boats getting ready to be put in the water. Final preparations, finishing touches being put on. We'll go racing for the championship here in Lake Havasu when we come back on ESPN Speed World coverage of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing.
Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona. It is time for the running of the final heat of the year 2000 Mojave Unlimited Hydro Fest. TJ, we've talked about several teams who have realistically stepped up their programs in the off-season. Does one of them have a shot at Dave Vilwalk and Miss Budweiser? We're about to find out.
The boat to beat is the red one, Dave Vilwalk in the Miss Budweiser. That boat has been very strong all weekend.
Everybody will throw everything they have at him right now. Now, George Stratton and the Appian Geronimo may still be playing it just a bit conservative, but they have showed a lot of potential today. Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club have shown tremendous speed. If anybody can take a run at Vilwalk, it might be his old nemesis, Mark Tate, out of retirement mid-season last year.
Again, these boats beginning preparation for the final here. As you look at Dave Vilwalk, they're trying to time that start just correctly. You don't want to be over, as we saw earlier in one of the heats, and so everybody kind of playing almost a cat and mouse game with the speed of their boat.
Greg Hopp, Miss Project X, the Rookie of the Year in '99, had a tremendous season, driving a sister ship to this one. If he gets a good start, the start's very critical here, this boat could be a very big factor here in the final heat.
We've been talking a lot about that Miss Budweiser team. They have been very, very dominant for a long time. And earlier, very own Steve Montgomery had a chance to talk to the man behind the operation at Miss Budweiser. Legend Bernie Little sat down for a few minutes to give some thoughts on this new season and his great career.
38 years ago, you went hydroplane racing, but it took you a couple of years to win your first race. If I had told you that we'd be sitting here in the year 2000 and you'd be king of the sport, I think you'd have been a little surprised.
Yeah, I'm amazed that you say that even now. I don't really believe that. And but anyhow, it's been something that I look forward to every year. And I'm a very competitive person, and I love people. I don't care. I just like people, and I like to be around people. And I read in the paper I had a big ego. Yeah, that's right. I have, I guess. And but I would have never believed that. In fact, I think it took us probably 4 years before we ever won a race. And boy, that was a long time coming. So once you win one, then you know what you're doing there, and you can win more.
If you go back even further, a young man just out of the Navy selling cars in Ohio,
yeah.
And then you'd have known there was a Horatio Alger Award and all the other honors outside of boat racing. It's been quite a career and a life.
Yes, it has been. To win the Horatio Alger Award was probably one of the most important things in my life. And other than my family and my marriage of 57 years, but the Horatio Alger, I think, is about the #2 civilian award that you can get. And it was presented to me by Wayne Heising at Washington, D.C. And Justice Thomas was there for the presentation in the Supreme Court, and it was quite impressive.
And that red boat has been quite impressive. We'll see if they continue to be as impressive. The final is coming up.